About letting all the strangers in. For sure. I'm still scarred by that.
I am too, trust me.
Here then, right? Okay.
Welcome.
We don't, yeah. It's fun. Don't even have to say what it is I'm talking about.
No.
The event.
Good morning. I would like to welcome everybody to the Board of Directors meeting of the Chautauqua County Industrial Development Agency with the BWB Building, 201 West Third Street, Jamestown, New York. We're also streaming live on YouTube. It's May the 26th at 10:30. We'll go ahead and do roll call. Gary Henry's here. Sagan Sheffield Smith.
Here,
Amy Harding.
here.
John Healy.
Here.
Tom Harmon.
Here.
Kevin Muldowney.
Here.
Ted Whitman.
Here.
Thank you for joining us. You should have already received the minutes from the April 28th, 2026 meeting and had a chance to review those. Do we have a motion to accept those minutes?
So moved.
I'll second.
First and second, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes have been approved. I'd like to welcome PJ Wendell, the county executive here this morning. Is there anything you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, just really excited about, the news on, Wells and, achieving that award. Disappointing that you see critics coming and saying, criticize, oh, there must have only been 2 people or whatever. But when you look at the progress of this county, it's remarkable. I think to reiterate, according to, the federal statistics, we got the 9th fastest county economy in Chautauqua, in New York State. So that's, again, a good part from everybody here. So great to hear that. Great to hear about the things we're doing. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. We'll move right into new business A, WMC Grape Juice LLC, presented by Christine and Shelby.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today I have with me Robert Patterson, the president of Westfield Maid Cooperative, and also Bailey Jordan, the treasurer of Westfield Maid Cooperative, which is a wholly owned, which owns WMC Grape Juice LLC, doing business as Lake Erie Juice Company. And we're presenting a loan request for $200,000 in working capital financing. The CCIDA Loan Committee met with the applicant on May 14th to review the request. Loan minutes in the application were provided in today's meeting materials. Just a quick background and overview, and then I'll introduce Bob to provide some additional information. Westfield Maid Cooperative has purchased the former DeHaven's Dodge City building located at 7505 East Route 20, Westfield, New York 14787, with plans for its subsidiary, WMC Grape Juice LLC, doing business as Lake Erie Juice Company, to renovate and convert the space into a fruit juice pouch filling and packaging facility. $2,615,000 investment will include a processing and packaging line with the future opportunity to expand. In a unique arrangement, as a member-owned cooperative, initially, the operation will be manned by its member owners. Hiring will commence in year 2 with 3.75 jobs estimated, growing to 17 jobs by year 6. WMC believes this product will secure their grower member farms' futures by reducing current dependency on a single customer in a single market, while also positioning them for profitable sales growth, diversified market for Concord grape juice. Additional startup assistance for this project has been provided by New York Small Business Development Center at Jamestown Community College, Empire State Development, Cornell Agritech, Edit East, USDA's Rural Development Guarantee, and others, including assistance championed by Chautauqua County Executive PJ Wendell, New York Senator George Borrello, retired New York Assemblyman Andy Goodell, and Kathy Young, who is now Cornell Agritech's Executive Director. So with that, I'd like to introduce Bob Patterson to provide a little bit more information about the project and about the product, of which you have samples before you.
You gotta stand up so everybody can hear me. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Before you is a good and grapey, as we call it. It's a 4-ounce USDA sized pouch filled with 100% Concord grape juice, grown in the Lake Erie region. Buffalo to Erie, Pennsylvania. It's also, plans are to have it be grown and certified. And we'll sell it to institutions, that's schools, prisons, hospitals, any institution that wants to buy it. It's not really a retail package. Westfield Made Cooperative is a member-owned cooperative. We were formed in 1935 in Westfield, and we currently have about 65 members. We cover about 1,450 acres of grapes. And, you know, given what happened with Refresco earlier this year, this project has become really important for us and for the grape growers mainly. Our tentative plans are to be ready to go by November 1st. We've ordered a packaging machine. It takes approximately 9 months to get that built, since they're building it from scratch, engineering it from the ground up. And hopefully by then we'll be all set to go if everything happens the way it's supposed to with the machine and that kind of stuff. Any questions, we can certainly try and answer them for you. And again, thank you.
I think you'd mentioned that this, you know, when it first goes into effect, it can cover about half the grape juice your co-op produces. Is there opportunities for that to grow as, you know, you get up and underway?
Yes, as a matter of fact, our current plan calls for about 5,600 acres, or excuse me, 5,600 tons of our members' grapes. And to the point you're asking about growth, we've just in the past week and a half received a verbal commitment from a food bank. Actually, it's in Pennsylvania, that for a $600,000 order. And, you know, we're working to close that. And
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Maybe I can make a comment or two.
Yes.
Number one is, Bob already touched on it, but the, obviously the potential of this growing, which, you know, we've been working on this for years. We've heard the presentation many, many times. And you work closely with the Small Business Development Center to really look at the market and where your expansion could be. And it's significant. I mean,
yes,
if it catches on the way you think it's going to, then it could be very significant.
Yeah.
So,
just to
add,
it's we have a really conservative marketing plan, and if even the conservative marketing plan pans out, we'll be doing quite well. So,
which of course, like you talked about, sort of the excess grapes now from Refresco canceling those orders would help to fill that void.
Yep.
I think that's important. The fact that you guys have been at this and really, you know, working at it with tenacity, I think is a good sign, because I'm sure when this happens, you're going to do the same thing with running the business. So that's a good sign. The other thing is a vacant building in Westfield that's sitting there on Main Street for years. You guys bought it. You're gonna, you know, fix it up and do your thing there. So that's a really good thing. And then kudos to Christine for, you know, staying at this and working so hard for years, and Bob and your team. It's a great. I've had many of these pouches and they're spectacular. We can have them, freeze them. That's what I heard.
Yep.
Freeze them. Yeah, they're really good that way. They're like a slushy. Yeah. And so good luck to you. Oh yeah, the other thing, I don't know if you said it or not, I was half paying attention, I guess. That the loan committee recommended approval of this.
Like instantly.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm thinking about other stuff. So anyway, to reiterate, the loan committee recommended that.
Okay. Yeah, like the breakout and the terms and the collateral as well.
Great. Thank you.
Did you have anything else, Mark?
Nope.
Anyone else for any questions?
I just wanted to congratulate you. We toured your building, 5-6 years ago? And you've been working ever since, like Mark said. Congratulations, and look forward to drinking your product.
I'll tell you real quick. So when my son tried one of these before the loan committee, he opened it up and he took a drink and he's like, and I said, I have a client who's gonna to the loan committee. And he's like, give them whatever they want. And he goes. So it's good. It's a great product. So we're happy to be working with you on this project. The loan committee recommended approval of the $200,000 for working capital, which would be comprised of a $100,000 Altech revolving loan fund loan and a $100,000 EDA CARES Act fund loan. The loan term for each loan would be 5 years at 4% interest with principal and interest payments made monthly. The loans would be secured by a subordinate lien position on the real estate owned by Westfield Made Cooperative, Inc., which is the guarantor, located at 7505 East Main Street, Westfield, New York, 14787, with section block and lot numbers 193.00-2-71 and 193.00-2-72 behind the bank's mortgage, totaling no more than $1,575,000. Second, a subordinate lien assignment of leases and rents by Westfield Made Cooperative, Inc. behind the bank. Third, a subordinate lien position on all business assets owned by WMC Grape Juice LLC, including but not limited to furniture, fixtures, machinery, equipment, future equipment, inventory, accounts receivable behind the bank. A corporate guarantee, Westfield Made Cooperative, Inc. And fifth, a subordinate lien position on Westfield Made Cooperative, Inc.'s National Grape Co-op certificates behind the bank. In addition, the loan committee recommended that personal guarantees be waived and that life insurance be waived due to no principals having 20% or greater ownership interest in the company or the guarantor. So that is what the loan committee recommended and what we're presenting today.
Thank you. Dan Hetzenrader, can you move new business A1 for us?
Gladly, I will move resolution 05262601, authorizing an LTEC revolving loan fund, EDA CARES Act fund and or CRLF loans to WMC Grape Juice LLC, a Lake Erie Juice Company for working capital in the amount of $200,000, comprised of $100,000 LTEC revolving loan funds and $100,000 EDA CARES Act funds.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
Second it.
Thank you, Tom. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
Sagan Sheffield Smith.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
John Healy.
Aye.
Tom Harmon.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Ted Whitman.
Aye.
The resolution is unanimously approved. We certainly wish you the best. Having grown up in Westfield as a young person, I spent many hours working in the grape vineyards. So, something like this, not only for the farmers, but for the whole community. There's a lot of people involved in the grapes and losing all the contracts with the Refresco, how important this is. So we're glad to be a small part of it and wish you the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move into new business B, Americold Real Estate, presented by Mark and Millen.
So at a very high level, you'll see that Americold is asking for an amendment to the pilot. And I understand completely why. Of course, north of 90% of their business headed for Wells. Wells had some, I wouldn't call them setbacks, because at the end of the day, it ended up being $500 million worth of investment, but it did delay how much they would be storing at the Americold facility. So, they're asking for an amendment to the pilot so that those jobs ramp up. Now, they're not as high as the original pilot. I think it was 60 in the original and 40 in this. However, I understand that too as well because of automation, because of some efficiencies that they've created. So me personally, I'm good with that. I'm going to let Millen talk a little bit about the corporate refinancing piece.
Right, there's actually two parts to the consent resolution. By the way, Americold is here so they can explain
Yep.
their business issues. But as you recall, in November of last year, we approved the first step of a corporate sort of restructure where they're bringing in an outside investor. So that was step one in November. We closed it in December, and now this is the second part of it, which we sort of knew was coming. The second, as Mark says, it is an amendment and waiver. The pilot transaction that we originally closed had a minimum employment covenant of 60 jobs, and the request is to back that down to 40 jobs. I'll let Americold comment on why that is and what they think that their prospects are going forward, but that's the consent. It's twofold that they're asking. You should have gotten, there's two separate letters that we got with those requests, so we're bringing them to you at one point at the same time. I guess there's, oh no, who wants to start?
You can unmute the Americold.
They can,
Oh, they can unmute.
yeah, they can
Okay.
unmute.
Yeah.
Mhm. There we go.
Hi. Very nice to meet you all. Sorry not to be there in person, but Alan Supple with Americold Corporate. I'm in the investment group here, and we appreciate your consideration here. You know, I think the general broad brush has been laid out. You know, when we underwrote development of this project and made the investment that we did, you know, there's an expectation of a certain level of throughput volume into the not only sort of total aggregate storage, but then throughput volume into the facility for various reasons, you know, related to first of all some delays in production for Blue Bunny, but you know, also a corporate merger on their side, maybe slowing things down a little bit. We find ourselves today kind of a, you know, 58% physical occupancy, and you know, a throughput volume significantly lower than we would have expected at this point. We've been working constructively with Wells Blue Bunny. We fully believe that we'll ultimately get to a level of throughput volume very similar to what we underwrote. We obviously put 37 million into the into the building, and we've generated you know, somewhere in the, you know, we're in the 25 range now. John can talk about it a little bit. Well, you know, seasonally we might peak a little bit more than that, but as we've simply not seen the volume and sort of the activity that would support a high level of employment. But we do expect, as we see ramping, we do expect to get up to that 40 level certainly by the end of 28, and we expect that you know, although we're not up to the level of 60 that was originally anticipated, I think this is as a result a little bit of efficiency gains. There's been a little bit of a change in profile in terms of the activity that we'll be doing. There was some repacking activity that was originally contemplated, which isn't going to materialize now from a commercial perspective. But we do expect to get up to the FTE, the 40 FTE, and we do you know, look forward to continuing to generate good paying jobs. We're an average of around $26 an hour, I think, for our direct labor. And we will, you know, continue to, we hope to, you know, alongside Blue Bunny and the expansion of their plant to contribute significantly to the economy here. You know, the other thing to point out is, you know, we're not, from the standpoint of the transaction that we're talking about, I've been involved, Sean Toner, our counsel, and myself have been heavily involved in this transaction. We're bringing in an outside investor who's taking a stake in a group of assets, including Dunkirk, across the country. It's a vote of confidence in supporting not only you know, our platform, but these assets specifically. This is a vote, you know, these assets have been, you know, hand selected as some of our finest assets and the ones we think have the most potential. So now we have a third party investor who's very supportive of our business and will continue to commit capital to it. But also, the other thing, most important thing to point out is it's business as usual. Nothing's going to change. Americold will continue to run these assets. John will continue as the general manager. If nothing else, we think we'll have sort of more wind at our back to bring this thing up to full capacity. And we're not obviously not requesting any initial financial assistance. We just wish to update the existing agreement to reflect the business conditions. Thank you.
Because there is no additional financial assistance, there is no public hearing required. From a secret perspective, this is just a sort of paper transaction, so there's no effect on the environment one way or another, and the resolution sort of points that out.
Any questions from the board? Hearing none. Sagan, can you move new business B1 for us?
Sure. Resolution 05262602, consent resolution for corporate refinancing, Americold Real Estate.
And do we have a second? Thank you, Kevin. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
Sagan Sheffield Smith.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
John Healy.
Aye.
Tom Harmon.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Ted Whitman.
Aye.
The resolution is unanimously approved. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
I'll reach out with documents.
Great. Thanks so much.
Next, we'll move into new business C, accepting various grant awards presented by Nate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is just the board's official acceptance of 4 grants that we've gotten in the last few months. 3 for the Ripley site, including a $10,000 marketing grant from National Grid. It'll be used to part Jason's marketing strategy for the site. We were also awarded $700,000 in county capital funding over 2 years, 2025 and 2026. And that will be getting under contract shortly for the last money in for Ripley site. And then early this year, we also had a $650,000 congressional earmark. The Mark PJ had been down to DC to champion Senator Schumer to lobby for that funding that was approved, working with New York State DOT now on those contracts. And then finally, a month or two ago, we were awarded $675,000 for the Eagle Bay site in the town of Sheridan to do some environmental due diligence and pre-development work to explore the feasibility of a industrial or commerce park at that property. So 4 awards in total, just accepting these.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
Wonderful.
Amy, can you move new business C1 for us?
Pleasure. Resolution 05-26-26-03 of the members of the County of Chautauqua Industrial Development Agency approving entry into agreement with National Grid, Empire State Development, Chautauqua County, and DOT.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ted. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
Sagan Sheffield Smith.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
John Healy.
Aye.
Tom Harmon.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Ted Whitman.
Aye.
The resolution is unanimously approved. Thank you again, as always. I mean, it's easy to accept, these. There's a lot of work that goes into it, just hours and hours and a lot of by the whole team. And so it's impressive, all the different grants and the way you're able to take that money and then expand it with, other opportunities and just get a lot of bang for the buck. Next, we'll move into the executive director's report.
Yeah, I just have 2 things. PJ already touched on the award that Wells Blue Bunny received at the New York State Economic Development Council annual meeting in Cooperstown last week. Project of the year, which is a pretty big deal. So looking across the state, looking at all the projects and saying that's the project of the year. So it's a feather in all of our caps. And Wells had 3 representatives there. They came a little early. We went over to the reception at the Hall of Fame. Went back, have our dinner. We had a table up front. We had 3 Empire State Development folks at our table, and Shelby and I, and Three Wells and
Millen.
Millen. And Millen, sorry, Millen. And Brian Ardillo from Wells accepted the trophy, and so really good stuff, really good stuff. And then the other thing, just real quick, progress on Dunkirk Landing, the housing development projects in Dunkirk. Both of those buildings are down now, which is a welcome sight, especially we look out where we're at the incubator and look out the back there, and that building is now down. So good progress, really good progress on that.
The closing has not officially happened. They're still waiting for DEC approval. The documents are all signed. They're sitting in escrow, just waiting for you to get paid, me to get paid, and the DEC to say yes.
Yep. So I can't think of anything else for open session right now.
Thank you. Next, we'll move into the treasurer's report.
A minute, I'll flip to the documents. Okay, so for year-to-date on the statement of revenues and expenditures, you'll see we're sitting pretty comfortably. However, there are some projects that are almost to the finish line that have not fully closed yet, that we have not collected our fee, that is sitting in receivables. So that has been booked. There is one that was about 400,000, so it's significant. But we're still hoping that those will get closed within the next couple months. So that is a potential risk where if that does not close by the end of the year, we would probably pull that back out. But again, there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes. So, for now, those invoices have been issued. They're just waiting to close. That's really the only call out that I have on the statement of revenues. You want to flip to the next page. Here again, we have a couple projects that are sitting in AR in accounts receivable that make up that 1.9. But that's probably, it's not the full 1.9. It's about probably, I'd say 600,000 maybe. As far as cash goes, we are comfortable going into the start of Ripley. Again, I've been saying this for a couple months now. Our loan funds are comfortable as well. We have a couple in the pipeline. We have the one that we just approved today, but we're sitting around 2 million in the EDA cares, and that's kind of the bread and butter where the loans would come from. So if you flip to the next page, when we compare versus budget, if you look at the very bottom, excess of revenues over expense, the one project that I mentioned of 400,000, if we do have to pull that out by the end of the year, we're still pretty close to the budget. Where we have 451,000 over the budget. That's what I was referring to.
We have a motion to accept the treasurer's report. Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tom. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The treasurer's report has been accepted. At this point, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing the financial or credit history of a particular person or corporation. In particular, I would like to discuss the status of our loan portfolio and the financial and credit status of some of our borrowers. Do I hear such a motion?
Move.
Thank you, Tom. Do we have a second? Thank you, Amy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll move into that.
Sort of makes it a little messy. I don't know if I want to be hanging out at a industrial plant.
Yeah, second.
Okay. Yeah, let me know.
We are back in open session. I would like to report that there were no actions or votes taken during executive session, therefore no minutes of the meeting were taken. Any old business to come before the board? Hearing none, we'll consider the meeting adjourned. Next IDA board meeting will be June the 23rd. We'll be here at the BWB Building. We'll also be streaming live on YouTube. Next,
We're gonna do your thing, Greg, after the critic meeting.
next, we'll move into the Chautauqua Region Economic Development Corporation Board of Directors meeting. We're at the BWB Building, 201 West Third Street. We're streaming live on YouTube. It's May the 26th at 11:25. We'll go ahead and do roll call. Gary Henry's here, Dan Hetzenrader.
Here.
Sagan Sheffield Smith.
Here.
Amy Harding.
Here.
John Healy.
Here.
Tom Harmon.
Here.
Kevin Muldowney.
Here.
Ted Whitman.
Here.
You should have already received the April 28th minutes and had a chance to review those. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes?
Motion.
Thank you. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes have been approved. We'll move right into new business A, approving entry into the contract with Trail Construction Associates presented by Nate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is awarding a contract to Trail Construction Associates in an amount of $106,308 for fifth phase of improvements to the East Side Overland Trail. Within our Partnership for Economic Growth Initiative, our trail consultant, Jacob Bodway, along with assistance from our staff, especially Rebecca Worcester, have been working on 6 phases of improvements, the fifth of which will take place this summer. And we have $110,000 of funding committed by the Community Foundation for Greater Buffalo, Northern Chautauqua Community Foundation, Ralph C. Sheldon Foundation, Gus G. Smith Dara Fund, Community Foundation for Chautauqua Region Community Foundation, Lena Foundation, and the partnership itself committed funding. So this is delayed a few months. We had to do a wetland delineation, but with DEC, that hurdle has been crossed and we hope to see construction in July.
You also did an RFP, correct?
We did, and TCA was the sole respondent to that.
Any questions from the board? John Healy, can you move new business A1 for us?
That's resolution 05-2604, Chautauqua Region Economic Development Corporation, approving entry into contractual agreements with Trail Construction Associates.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
Sagan Sheffield Smith.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
John Healy. Tom Harmon.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Ted Whitman.
Aye.
Resolution is unanimously approved. Next, we'll have an executive report.
I have nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. How about a treasurer's report?
I do.
If you wanted, did you want to kick it over to Josiah and I for?
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. You want to do it now?
Yeah, we can run through it now.
Yeah, so anyway, so the partnership has really been active. And Josiah and Nate are gonna give you some updates. Sorry, I forgot about that.
All good. So Jeanette will share a presentation that Josiah and I want to run through. Again, since these meetings are long, we'll only do this to you a few times a year, but we want to make sure your guys are up to speed on the good work of the partnership and the various projects we have going on. You go to the next slide, Jeanette. So again, this is our core Partnership for Economic Growth team. Josiah, since being hired last summer, is really managing the day-to-day of our various projects, and also would be remiss, myself, Mark and Rebecca are still very closely involved and certainly supported by Shelby, Kayla, and Jeanette as well. But we have 3 full-time dedicated staff people, and Josiah, Monica, and Christy. Obviously, Jason has a dual role with the IDA, and he's providing marketing communication support across both entities. And Crystal is also involved on both the CREDC side and the IDA side in terms of grants compliance, administrative and financial assistance. And then again, what do? We focus on business development, placemaking, workforce, housing, and infrastructure. Next slide, Jeanette. Also just wanted to reiterate the financial support we get for that small team and our various consultants that allow us to do what we do in terms of project identification, readiness, grant writing, implementation support. Certainly the IDA and county government provide both cash and in-kind support. And then our 3 foundation supporters Ralph Wilson Foundation. We're in our second multi-year grant award with them. Tremendous support. The Northern Chautauqua Community Foundation is committed 6 years at $100,000 to support us, as well as the Gebby Foundation to focus on Jamestown specific and Chautauquan activation specific activities. So those are the main supporters of the organization and our administrative overhead. And we're happy to have the support of, again, many other local foundations and state agencies and the actual projects we implement. So I'm going to stop talking there. I don't want to steal any thunder from Josiah. Josiah is going to run through a handful of project updates, talk about our Ralph Wilson case study, as well as a brief overview of our new economic development strategy. Josiah?
Yeah, thank you, Nate. Good morning, everyone. The first thing I wanted to highlight was the impact case study that the Wilson Foundation approached us as a team and said we'd like to highlight. For us, it was 3 years of funding from the first round of financing from the Wilson Foundation. And they really see the work that the partnership is doing as a model for rural communities. You know, they're working in large cities, but they also have done more concentrated work in the other communities, the other counties in their area, which includes Western New York. And so we worked with Camoin Associates to work together on the economic development reform in Chautauqua County. We looked at the history of the partnership, how the partnership was founded, and some of the development of the partnership into the different work groups, the structure, and then also the impact that over the first 3 years, specifically the first round of funding from Wilson, what that had, and the lessons that we learned from those first 3 years. If you go to the next slide, it just addresses some of the themes of the case study. One is that, you know, what we have formed here through the partnership is a really unique structure. You know, in talking to some of the other counties that we have, they have more fragmented economic development systems at the county level. And to have the planning department, the IDA, and the partnership sort of all under one roof really does strengthen the work that we do and allows us to get more done and more efficiently. So that's something that we can tout to others. Also, you know, many rural communities have ideas, but how do you actually implement those ideas? So having the capacity was crucial as a first step. So the funding from the Wilson Foundation has given us the capacity to support projects here at the county level, but also just as importantly, to work with our municipalities and to help them move forward projects that they might not do in the same way if they didn't have that capacity. And then, you know, also be able to compete better for state and federal funding. So those are some of the things that we've seen the impact of the partnership over the last 3 years. If you go to the next slide, this is some of the data. So over that period, there were 60+ projects that were advanced throughout the county, some at the county level, but many at the municipal level, where we played a role in those projects. Not that we were leading or we were the main projects, but we had a role. And then through that, for every dollar that we contributed or staff time that we contributed, there was a $46 return on that investment. So our leverage ratio through those projects specifically was $1 to $46. And part of that was through our economic growth fund, which is the fund from the Wilson Foundation that we're able to contribute to projects, either for planning or for grant writing or other funding to get the project started or actually to implement projects. And usually those were anywhere between $4,000 and $50,000. And again, some of those projects, the leverage was quite large. If you looked at it today, we have contributed to about 75 projects in total. And the total amount of that was about $63 million that has been leveraged on those projects. So significant impact. And again, not to say that we were the only player in those projects, but we had a role in all of those projects.
I'll also add, we're waiting on an announcement any day that could add between 10 and 15 million to that amount too. So
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Right. Next slide. The other thing that we have put out recently is our economic development strategy 2.0. Right at the beginning of the partnership, we worked again with Des Moines to develop our initial economic development strategy for the county and the partnership. And it's been 5 years since then. So we put out 2.0. I'm not going to go in detail into this, but I would encourage you, this is on our website and it is available. We can email it out here to the board to go through in detail and just see what our strategy is. We do model it after our 5 different work groups, business, workforce, housing, placemaking, and infrastructure. Those are the game changers, which is basically our top priorities for each of those work groups. And then there's about 3 or 4 smaller priorities under each one. So I do encourage you to look through that. And I think that's going to help develop or inform our strategy moving forward.
When we did the first economic development strategy, I remember putting in that number for creating new housing, and I think it was 400. And we thought, well, we'll do our best. I was like, that's a lofty goal. Well, we met that. We met that. So, and we did that in several of the areas. So, we're trying to be intentional about those game changers, that they're lofty, but they're achievable. And I think that we can achieve these as well.
Next slide. And again, just to highlight a little bit of the work of the Economic Growth Fund, this is it's between $200,000 and $250,000 we have each year from the Wilson Foundation to help fund projects in our community, either as planning or implementation projects. If you go to the next slide, Jeanette, we awarded our projects for this year, and it's a little small, but if you can see, it's $217,500 to 13 projects all throughout the county. And that's about over $8 million in additional leverage for those projects that we awarded this year. Next slide. All right, so we're just going to go through a couple of our key projects that we've been working on over the last few months. The Chautauqua River Basin Project. We have about $2 million set aside for work on the south side of the basement to enhance that as an activated zone for people to come and get down to the waterfront. Right now, we're waiting on permitting from the DEC before we can go to construction. So really, we're ready to go out to bid, but we need that permitting to get done. And we don't have a concrete timeline because it's the DEC on when exactly that will be. We're hoping that we can get some of the construction done this year, and likely some of it will be done next year. In addition, we have another contract to do pre-development activities on select sites that is in motion, and we're in the middle of doing a market analysis on that community in the basin and in the BOA district along the Chautauqua River there, and continuing to work moving that project forward. All right, next slide. Okay, so downtown revitalization has really been a key strategy that we have worked with our municipalities. And, over the course of the last 5 years, these are all the municipalities that we have worked with on developing either a downtown revitalization application. Dunkirk was awarded and is in process, or a New York Forward application. Westfield was awarded, and now they're at the point where all their projects have been selected. And even a small community like Forestville or the town of Hanover, they were awarded a Main Street project, which will help to enhance their downtown area. And then we have a number of other communities that we've supported with applications, hoping that 1 or 2 of those might be awarded this year, and others that are further back in the project, like Cassadaga or Mayville, that we're working on master planning, which could lead to future applications.
Now, in most cases, obviously we meet with them, we talk about what they want to do, and I don't know if it's been in every case, but we've paid for the consultant to help them work through that application. And it's not just fill in the blanks. It's sort of like, we have this plan. These are the projects. This is the leverage. This is commitment by developers, all that stuff. So it's pretty complicated, But, you know, paying for that consultant, whether, you know, $5,000 or whatever it is per consultant, and then they're awarded $4.5 million. You can see where that high leverage number comes in. It's a really critical point. It's not a lot of investment, but when it results in a $10 million or $4.5 million award, you can see how those numbers would be that way.
Yep. Next slide. Again, these are the countywide housing projects that we've played a role in. The homesteads at Dunkirk Landing, Mark mentioned earlier. Also the Silver Creek School, if you've been by there at all, that building is up. There, you know, windows are in. I don't know, Christine, if having masonry has gotten any further recently, but it's still looking in really good shape. And we helped with a Restore New York grant to help move that project forward. Okay. Nate, I don't know if you wanted to highlight anything from this one?
Yeah, so we have a lot of brownfield efforts going on, both the IDA side and CREDC side. If you think of it this way, on the IDA side, it's kind of the tools that help facilitate redevelopment, like the Brownfield Revolving Loan Fund and the site assessment grant we were recently awarded. On the CREDC side, it's been more on the pre-development activities, general planning. So this project that we just kicked off about 2 weeks ago, we'll look at our known and suspected brownfield inventory. Brownfield's defined not only as contaminated site, but vacant or underutilized. We have a list of over 400 sites that we'll be reviewing, filling gaps on, and then kind of prioritizing which ones have redevelopment potential, and doing some GIS mapping and marketing as well as part of this.
You know, things like how's it zoned, right? How big is it? What infrastructure does it have? What's the level of contamination? You know, all of these things that you need to market sites to a developer. They need to understand these things. We're doing it's almost like shovel ready, right? Like with vacant sites, but this is sort of looking at those things and being able to supply that information to make it more enticing for the developer.
Next slide. And again, we have a very active trail project here. Nate talked about the project, the East Cardo Overland Trail, East Side Overland Trail in Boutwell Hill. That's probably our main project right now. Looking to see that go to maintenance to go to construction this year. And then if you go to the next slide, we're working with the county planning department on the new trail that connects Lake Erie to Chautauqua Lake. That's a project in planning. We're working on maps and kiosks for our trails. And also there's a small trail at Point Gratiot. That's where we've been able to assist with. But it's
Also instrumental in bringing together Friends of Chautauqua Greenways. There was all these different groups, whether they were equestrian or mountain bike and trails and cross-country skiing, all sort of competing and doing their own thing. Well, we brought them all together, and now they're working together to help each other. Where's their crossover, where we can pool our resources? You go for the grant this year, I'll go for it next year, you know, that kind of stuff. So that's been very effective.
Through these efforts, we've seen about 1.4 million directed to trails since 2020.
Those trails have not been updated since they were built. So there was a lot of issues, and they're all getting taken care of.
Next slide. The recent grant activity, some of it is Paint CHQ. We're continuing to work on new projects this year, looking at Bemis Point community as our next Paint CHQ for the summer, and other communities possibly for 2027. And then the trail project we mentioned, and yeah, I think that's it. Next slide. Oh, go ahead, Nate.
That was it.
Was that it?
I think that's it. I don't see anything more.
Any questions?
So we wanted to do this 3 or 4 times a year just to shine a light on some of the other projects, again, outside of the IDA proper. Jeanette, regardless, includes this update in your board packet every month. So if there's any projects you want questions on, that's where we also inform the board of what grants we're actively applying for. So
Nice work.
Yeah, very nice.
Very nice.
Now we'll move into the treasurer's report.
Can I talk now? Just kidding.
Take a vote on the grants? No, I forget.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so for the financials, really the only thing that I want to call out on the P&L, the statement of revenues and expenditures is we made an entry this year for basically reclassing some of the expenses to the Ralph Wilson Fund. So you'll see there's a credit in professional fees in CPEG, and then it offsets in the Ralph Wilson professional fee. So it's basically just kind of reclassing those. So that's really the big driver of the $42,000 kind of benefit that you're seeing in the partnership. It's just reclassing 2025 expenses to that fund. In the audited financials, all of these funds get rolled up together, consolidated. So it's not really making any changes to 2025. It's just capturing it in the correct fund in 2026. Nothing really to talk about on the board report or the balance sheet, I'm sorry. We do have, in this notes receivable in CREDC, that's basically all of the OCR notes. So some of that is offset in the deferred revenue OCR under the liabilities. So that's really it on that. When we look at the comparison to budget, it just boils down to timing. So you'll see that the grant income is offset by basically professional fees and grant contractual. And it just boils down to timing of when we accept funds and when we expend them. That's all I've got.
Thank you. We have a motion to accept the treasury.
I'll make that motion.
Got first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's been accepted. Any old business to come before the board?
To touch on something, I know it's been come up a few times and sure it's later to talk about it. But the wetlands regulations that posed have been struck down by the courts. There is another lawsuit by one of our critics here in Chautauqua County to make sure that they do not ever get brought up again, but I highly doubt that that's going to happen. What happened in these multiple lawsuits from multiple counties, and obviously we are very criticized for not jumping on board. The basis of those, whatever you want to call it, lawsuits were thrown out. Basically what they did is they went back to the DEC and said, did you follow the seeker process? No, but that's where it got struck down. They didn't follow the steps. As we were told, the governor is not going to appeal those. So everything we've heard for the last, couple of years was successful. CLPOA is trying to sue the state to make sure that they don't ever look at this again. Good luck. But again, that's kind of where we stand. So I think it's a win, but you'll hear me say this, New York State's consistent inconsistencies. We look at it as Chautauqua Lake, and as the senator said, the judge that ruled on this said, he goes, why are you even mentioning lakes as wetlands? So we feel that's a feather in our cap, especially with Senator Barella's legislation supported by Assemblyman Molitor to try to focus any body of water in excess of 1,000 acres would not be considered a wetland. But the difference is in Onondaga County, Westchester, and other counties east, they're looking at these properties that were designated wetlands that haven't been wet for decades. So it's a unique position, but I guess we've kind of, dodged the hangman's noose right now, and it's moving forward. But just to give a little update, you'll hear that put to rest. Now, will the state come back in a year or two and come back at it? Possibly, but I think with the questions that have been brought up with this, I think it's going to be a different chain of events.
I think the building exchange of the southern tier was also a plaintiff in that, right, John?
We're part of it.
Yep.
Good job.
Oh, good job.
Anything else to come before the board? Okay, we'll consider meeting adjourned. Thank you.